Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing tonight? I'm going to give it a few more moments to folks to join in. Thanks for joining me. If you're watching, whether you're watching live on Monday evening or during the replay, thanks for watching me this evening. Thanks for joining us. We're going to have a very exciting conversation around some really important stuff. And I want to welcome you to Mental Health Monday, your weekly self-care check-in with joy-flavored stories and resources for the war on spiritual ashiness. My name is Alexander Hardy. And tonight on Mental Health Monday, we'll be joined by legendary choreographer, media personality, host of Rap City. You've heard her on the radio. She's been in some of your favorite music videos by some of your favorite artists, from Mary J. Blige to Whitney Houston to Michael Jackson. She is someone who has done work across multiple platforms to cement her place in history as a cultural icon. We're going to be talking to Leslie Big Les Segar, someone who many of you may know from the opening of Living Single. That's her silhouette that you've seen every time you've watched that show on Hulu or you're borrowed whatever account. And we're going to be talking to her about her self-care, how she's getting joy in the age of the Rona, what this transition into multimedia personality has been like for her, and what she's doing to get some joy these days, how she's taking care of herself, how she's thriving in the age of the Rona. Last week on Mental Health Monday, I talked to parents, Jaman Fori and Isamas, who are both preparing their children to transition into homeschooling. Jamon's preparing his daughter to prepare for iPad kindergarten, and Issa has launched Homeschool Starter Set, which is a tool to prepare parents to homeschool their children and just gather all the necessary resources and make the connections that they need to start down that journey, knowing what paperwork to get, what forms do you need, how do you connect with and collaborate with your local school board and things like that. So we had a really good conversation, which you can view on mentalhealthmonday.getsomejoy.com. If you're watching right now, I want to invite you to share this conversation on Facebook or Twitter, wherever you're watching. Again, whether you're watching live on Monday night or in the replay, invite someone to this conversation who you think would benefit from the discussion. The more the merrier. I want to hear from you. If you're watching, let me know where you're watching from and how your self-care is at the moment on a scale of 1 to 10. So I want to start with the self-care check-in. Just because we're all dealing with a lot of things right now in terms of how we're healing, the news that we're reacting to, the things that we have going on, the things that we have to deal with. So for me, I'm going to say my self-care in this moment, I'm going to give it like a 7.5. Yeah, about 7.582 or some shit like that. I think that's how I'm doing right now. In terms of my self-care, what's going well for me, feel free to let me know what's going well for you in terms of your self-care. So what's going well for me in terms of my self-care is that I have been cooking. And I've been back in the kitchen because that's my happy place. And that's where I'm able to find peace and calm and a distraction from all of the raggedy things that are going on in the outside world. And I'm able to focus on, the task at hand and not because when you're kitchening trying to prepare something that's not terrible, you really don't have the energy to focus on what else is going on in the world. If you're making something that requires constant stirring or constant attention, I find working in the kitchen to be a tool for mindfulness. So getting in there and working, not tending to a pot of rice. But when I'm cooking veggies, when I'm chopping, when I'm sauteing, all of those things help me stay present and be, focused in the moment on the things that are going well and not all the things that I can't control outside of that. So I'm cooking more. I'm connecting with friends virtually and in person from a distance. And I am reading and tapping into the creative side more. I've published something recently on Medium called Creating a Sanctuary in the Age of the Rona, which I'll be sharing this evening. And I am looking forward to doing more of that sanctuary building and creating my safe space. Hey, Ebony, how you doing? Thanks for watching. And I'm really looking forward to writing more. I have a desk that I got. There is apparently, a shortage of desks. Everyone I imagine is creating an office right now. So it took me some time to find the right desk that I wanted to be able to induce that creativity and to give me that sense of safety and just comfort that I need in something. And yeah, exactly, Janae. Like cooking is a great way to zone out, you know. I put on some music or a podcast and, you know, just get to it. It's good to like disconnect from the computer, get up from the desk, do some stretching, but also, you know, put on that fan in the kitchen because it gets hot back there and get to work in the kitchen. So yeah, that's been helping me in terms of what I could be doing better or differently in terms of my self care. More water, and I got a yoga mat and some stretchy bands, but I guess now that means I need to use them. So I guess I'll be spending some time with that. I have found some cool dance classes and yoga live video situations that I want to follow along with. So I want to tap into some of those and like you know be able to move my body because you know I don't see myself returning to a gym even though they're opening up and traditional like you know weights and free weights and things like that. That's pretty boring to me. So if I'm going to be active and doing something with my body, it's probably going to be dance related. So that's kind of where I am in terms of my self care. Again, if you're watching, feel free to let me know where you're watching from and how your self care situation is at the moment. If you want to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, that's okay too. Um, and what I wanted to do this evening before I brought on my guest is share a little bit of something that I wrote, a piece I just mentioned on Medium and on elsewhere on Janet Jackson Internet about my settling to my new apartment. I moved into a new space at the beginning of June, and I have been taking my time easing into the space and um, um, giving myself patience, you know, with picking the right color, figuring out what's my aesthetic, what I like in the space, what I need to be okay. Um, and I'm enjoying the process and really just working on creating healthy routines and, you know, waking up every morning and like, you know, continuing to do the healthy things that I need to do to like be okay. And so because of that, I wanted to share something that I wrote that was a result of a long time of um, feeling kind of in the balance and not really completely settled. So like now that I have the desk and now that I'm setting up my creative space and I got my candles and my markers and my pencils and my books and things, I've been creating a lot more, or creating more, and planning and imagining the future and things like that. So in that same vein, I want to share something that I wrote again, and I want to share this piece, and it is called Creating a Sanctuary in the Age of the Rona. And I wrote this for Medium. .com, which is a website where every person with a connection to Janet Jackson Internet can publish work and do all the fabulous things that bring them joy. I have created a platform there for Get Some Joy and just to share joy flavored stories and things that I hope to share with you in the future. But to that vein, I want to share this piece that I wrote, up a bit of this piece called Creating a Sanctuary in the Age of the Rona, about just finding a sense of safety and settling in to a new space amidst chaos and uncertainty. So hopefully my screen is showing. Okay. So again, if you're watching, let me know what are some things that have helped you establish a sense of safety, or what has helped you feel comfortable in your space or create your sanctuary as you're watching. So I'm just going to share a part of this, and at the end I'll share like where else you can view this piece. So again, this is called Creating a Sanctuary in the Age of the Rona. Okay, so I wasn't expecting her until Sunday, but when I jumped out of the shower and into some clothes after Mr. UPS buzzed and fled, there he was at the top of the stoop under downstairs woman's maxi single size package, here to pry open the creative floodgates, and in the age of ancientness on Friday morning, finally. Hey, Deskisha. I brought her upstairs, freed her from the box, put on Duckworth's new album, Supergood, got a fan of spinning to keep the titty sweat at bay, and assembled her immediately. This summer, I moved into a new apartment in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, after 3.5 years of floating in the wind in El Bronx. I still do my daily dance with disbelief about being here. I arrived with clothes, books, dreams, and lots of kitchenware on July 1st, and spent that week crying like a motherfucker and finding order in the boxes and bags. Between developing and promoting my literary therapy writing workshops, which start Wednesday, September the 16th, facilitating mindfulness moments, writing sessions, and grief and loss trainings for companies and union members, porn hugging, and bemoaning that I have to cook and feed myself every blessed day. I hadn't made much time for sanctuary beautification. I've kept myself, Rita Louise, the Croton plant, and Mary Clarence, the neon pothos, alive, though. And some weeks that's enough. Keep them bitches alive for 90 days, I promised myself when I brought them here in the shopping cart from Natty Garden that human July Monday. I missed Rita Louise a few times a week and everything because she's tropical and needy. The sneaky thing about houseplants is that they don't tell you have to stay alive to care for them. That's not on the instruction tab they push down in the dirt with the light and water recommendations. That's a pretty big omission, I'd say. When Rita Louise's leaves turn brown, chances are that my spirit is also parched and screaming for help. And I'd be like, girl, I feel you, as I water and mist her. So just a heads up, unless you have technology on your side, houseplants require living humans. They're your cheering. I don't want Sandra Rose writing about my scandalous open Chrome tabs and my dead-ass plants, so might as well keep on keeping us all alive up in here until my ticket to the great eternal electric slide arrives. I'm not pressed to go shuck peas on in the hereafter with the ancestors, but when that happens, please include my plant babies in my obituary. They'll have name tags to make it easy. While sanitizing Deskisha's legs and surfaces, I envision the projects I would plan, the work I would avoid, and the breakfast I would eat here until I secure the right dining situation and felt 9.74% less spiritually ashy. Baby steps. I have accepted that turning the Casa de Joy from some place I'm staying into a home will be a process, a journey. I opted against scooping a matching bedroom set from Front Operation Furniture because I wanted to be creative and intentional about how I feel this space. My nesting coincided with the global non-terrible office desk shortage because everyone from the neo-homeschooler to the non-touring hippity hopper to the homebound talk show host is setting up a classroom or office or studio in their living room right this moment and has grabbed every desk on Janet Jackson's internet that didn't have a hateful principal's office, undersexed woman-detesting professional gamer, or hoarder and training vibe. I'll be all desked up for the next pandemic, though. Shit, I might get another one to be extra ready. There's no reason to fill the apartment, as I have no plans to entertain anyone other than Sir Terminex and his natural deodorant during his monthly visits for the foreseeable future. Sure, I made my Mental Health Monday broadcast and workity work moments happen on my lap and with stools with nifty rings clipped to chairbacks and such. But getting Deskisha in place was essential to being more creatively fruitful and feeling safe and settled enough to let my mind wander. After assembling Deskisha and rewarding myself with a slice of cheesecake, I finished and sent off 2 price quotes for organizations interested in my virtual wellness programming that had me stressing and questioning my worth all week. Ta-da. I haven't had my own space since I fled Panama in August 2014 to avoid killing myself. Every day here is a celebration. I'm still learning to stretch out, unclench, and exhale after becoming an expert at crunching myself into the tiniest corner in existing, but not thriving, within and around other people's situations, and to not disturb the peace or outstay my welcome. With on alert becoming my default, spending years just comfortable enough to move within a few hours' notice or crash elsewhere for the night if there was fighting, I cherish sitting still and being quiet. Despite writing and talking to folks on Janet Jackson's internet and beyond about self-care, I'm pouring into myself for the first time in years and relearning what life outside survival mode feels like. In terms of sanctuary beautification, I'm still exploring what my aesthetic is and what I need in terms of space to feel safe and at home. I knew I needed hardwood floors and counter space to get my empanada game together, but what else would let me help my soul glow and fulfill my ancestors' wildest dreams or whatever? A grits dispenser? Self-cleaning baseboards? One thing I have been doing a lot of in here is sleeping down, which I believe would have been our ancestors' wildest dreams, to nap like a motherfucker. Since leaving my apartment in Panama, I've been in other people's spaces, loved ones in shelters, and unable to consider whether the St. Demita Joe Jackson mural on the living wall will feature deep red spirals from the Velvet Rope era or the pillowy bayangs from the Rhythm Nation 1814 era. Plastic couch cover or nah? Do they make hanging deep freezers? How many plants is too many? And so forth. I have an arts and crafts basket, my coloring book, color pencils, and my Bop It. But what color will I paint the grits mill / creative studio / chokey? So much to consider. There's a moment during Death, Sex, and Money's recent interview with Nigerian-born writer and artist uh, Akweke Amezi, where they discussed that what it was like settling to their new home in New Orleans and deeming themselves worthy of extravagance within their space, even if it's just for them to witness, and there's no family or housemates to witness it. It blessed my soul and reminded me to enjoy this process of self-exploration, indulgence, and home building, and helped me recognize the limiting effects of a lack-based mindset. A few weeks even into moving here, I put two tacks on separate ends of one bedroom wall and hung a piece of twine between them. I took a yellow piece of construction paper from my expanding arts and crafts basket and wrote, "You are safe," with the fat black marker. I put the cap on, stood back, and burst into tears again. I thought I had completed my last big cry, but the lie detector determined that was a lie. Next to that, on an orange sheet, "Are you preparing to do something whack?" Weeks later, on a green sheet next to that, "Finish your damn book." Seeing those each morning I wake up unmurdered in Janet Jackson's America reminds me that I haven't ceased and desisted in the war on spiritual ashiness, and that I have a wall on which to hang these reminders, inside a room I don't have to share, inside an apartment I just pay rent for, with both my bank account and my vagina intact. Blessings. So I would like to pause there, and the rest of that can be viewed on thecoloredboy.com and medium.com/getsomejoy. And again, that was creating a sanctuary in the age of the Rona, which I wrote about just landing in a safe space and feeling like I'm able to establish the foundation on solid ground after being in environments that do not spark joy and that detracted from my mental wellness, and I think kept me from being my best self. So shout out to safety, shout out to housing, shout out to finding the space that you need to be okay. Um, thank you, Janae. Thank you to everyone who's watching. So, with that said, and all that touchy feely stuff out of the way, I would like to introduce someone who whose work I have adored since I first kind of came into just consciousness of like dance and um, dance breaks and such. Someone who was like an advocate for like dancing hard as hell and some combat boots and doing what it takes to make it happen and just like reinventing themselves across multiple media forms and doing what it takes to thrive. However you are letting your soul glow on whatever avenue you have to show yourself and share yourself with the world. Thank you, Ayana. Thank you so much. Again, that piece is on The Colored Boy and medium.com/getsomejoy. So again, this person is someone who you may have seen as far as her silhouette on the opening for a show which set the scene for Khadijah Maxine Regine and Khadijah Regine Maxine and oh my God, Khadijah Regine Maxine and help me out. A wonderful show called Living Single. You've also seen her as the choreographer for a video for Mary J. Blige that has earned her an MTV Video Music Award nomination. You've also seen her as the host of BET's Rhapsody. I feel so stupid for that. Somebody's going to take my black card. But you've also seen her as the host of BET's Rhapsody and currently on Thank You, Sinclair, and Overton and Kyle. Thank you so much, Ayana. You've heard her on the radio in Los Angeles and Atlanta and New York. And she's someone who is firmly imprinted on someone said Pam, wrong show, and firmly imprinted on a cultural imprint who has, again, redefined herself across multiple platforms and has shown that technology, changing multimedia needs, cultural trends, professional focuses cannot stop talent from shining and reaching the world and the masses. So without further ado, please welcome to Mental Health Monday, Leslie Big Les Segar.
Hey.
Hey.
That was a heck of an intro. Thank you. Gee.
You are so welcome. Thank
Bring
you.
It on. Woo,
yes.
Good.
How you doing? How you doing?
I'm good. How you been?
I'm good. I'm Black. I'm winning,
Okay. What you got? Claim it. Claim
we
all
out
the
here. That's our superhero. That's our superpower out here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So thank you again for joining me on Mental Health Monday with Alexander Hardy.
Oh,
Before we get into, your career and adjusting to this raggedy moment that we're in, I would like to know what meal represents your mood at this moment and why. Hello? I think I may have lost Leslie. We're going to come back.
it's often. Ooh,
Boom.
we're back.
Welcome.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, y'all.
It's all good. It's all good. We here. Shout out to technology.
Yeah, man.
So I had asked, what meal represents your mood at the moment and why? In terms of like this today, this week, this moment, this month.
What'd you say?
What meal?
What meal?
Mm-hmm.
Well, breakfast, I guess, for me. Because I'm not a big eater, and literally, because I chew gum, so I could literally go like 6 to 8 hours and not really feel hungry. But breakfast for me, as long as I have like not even a hearty breakfast, but something good, which
Mm-hmm.
is usually just like granola or some cereal or whatever it is, it kind of gets me through the rest of the day. So breakfast is my go-to.
Okay. Okay. For me, I'm gonna say, to be a little bit more specific, just because I've had it last night and it's been on my spirit for weeks, is mac and cheese.
Oh my God.
Like something that, like, it's a special occasion. It's not an everyday thing, it's not an every week moment,
Of
but like
course.
it's something there to like touch your spirit. I cooked, I'm just getting into a new apartment, as I mentioned, and like cooking has like been, getting me to that space of like freedom and peace. So like
Yeah, yeah.
I threw down last night for the verses.
Get it? Okay. Well, you
Uh,
had to, of
so,
course.
I had to cook for the cause. I made some mac and cheese.
Yep.
I had some Brussels sprouts. I did some sweet potatoes, and I did some baked chicken.
Yes.
So
Good.
I had to represent for the culture. So mac and cheese is kind of speaking to like where I am in my life right now.
Miss Patty would have been proud, I'm sure.
Yes, yes. So Ayana says fried catfish, collards, mac and cheese for her. See,
Get it, girl.
you gotta
Soul for
feed your spirit.
soul. Absolutely.
You got to feed your spirit. So thank you for that. So what has this, you as a person who I see you're actively working in different ways, and as someone who has been active across, in the personal training space, in the dance space, as a gymnast, as a media professional, as a producer and a host. What is this moment as a woman who got family and people who are going through it in all different ways right now? What's this moment, this transitional phase, like this period of uncertainty and transition been like for you right now?
Woo, it has been an absolute emotional roller coaster, right? Because I think for me personally, when the phones get quiet or the job stops, or I can't even go to places where, for me, my outlet is anything physical. So I always do trampoline or I do trapeze and all that stuff. And when those places close down for me, which I can't hook a rig up in front of, in my house, my only go-to now is just the gym, right? Or maybe just
Mm,
bicycling. And I'm one of those people who I just happen to be home alone, which wasn't always the case. So this is kind of the first time in a long time, and I enjoy my own company. Don't get it twisted. And I'm somebody who's out and about and very, very social and on dates and all that other stuff. But it's kind of like, wait a minute, this is really real. Somebody shut a light off on the planet and I feel like we're in the twilight zone. And at first you take it personal, like, oh my God, the phone stopped ringing. Nobody's going to hire me. The work stopped or my project stopped. And then you realize the trickle effect that it's California, that it's the whole West, the whole world, the whole international, like, oh, I'm not in this by myself.
right.
And so there's a little bit of comfort in misery loves company in the sense that we're all in this together kind of a thing. And so you can't really take it personal, but then you kind of kick into survival mode. And survival mode looks completely different because before, when you're a freelance person in the entertainment industry, survival is all about the next gig.
Yeah.
Now with quarantine, survival is waking up and finding happiness, not feeling alone, trying to be creative, trying to be productive, trying to find multiple or create multiple streams of income somehow, some way, somewhere, trying to keep your passion of whatever you're doing going, which is why you see a lot of people doing dance and choreography and stuff, you know, on Instagram or whatever it is. Like
Mm-hmm.
that outlet has to get out of you. And so that's been the new challenge. And it's been somewhat of an adventure, I guess. At first, you're kind of scared and, oh my God, this is it and this is over. And we're all still there because nobody can really afford to pay for those classes and all those things that you do. But I think at least all of the stuff that's in me has a place to at least explode. That's probably the best thing about social media right now, I can say, and being in this space. It's forcing me to write. I'm still able, I'm directing a documentary, and we were doing, you know, in-person interviews. And so thank God for Zoom and all these other things,
Mm-hmm.
StreamYard, where we can actually still get the thing shot. And everybody's going to understand, well, it just happened during quarantine. So nobody's going to be phased because we were all
Right.
here to see it, you know?
Right.
So,
Right. Right. It's even us, you know, like one aspect is like technology has been able to like bridge those geographical boundaries, you know, like we had a Zoom Mother's Day, you know, and
right.
got the grandma and the auntie, you know, some folks on Zoom and, you know, like we're still able to like, you know, you can still be with people. But like you said, it is a good opportunity, you know, instead of looking at it as you know, oh man, like my 2020 vision board is trash now. Like, you know, like you can pivot, you can still connect with people in new ways. You can still get your art, your talent, your abilities, you know, like
Yeah.
this is that time.
But what it's forced everybody to do is not even just pay attention to the news or really be exposed to what you normally would ignore because you're moving so fast.
Right.
Now you have time to reconnect with your people from high school, your people from college, you know, spend more time with your kids and your family and do all the arts and crafts stuff that you couldn't do because you're working a 9 to 5. And so all the latchkey kids finally can see what it's like to be home. And
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? So it's like a good thing and it's an adjustment. And some people aren't handling that well at all. So, you know, God knows what he's doing at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, you know, yeah, it's also, like you said, a great opportunity, not just to connect with other people, but also with ourselves. Like
Mm-hmm.
globally, a moment like this to sit down, you know, not only like dive into work and, you know, grind and hustle and stuff like that, but just like to rest.
Absolutely. And I think those people who aren't used to spending so much time with their spouse or so much time with their kids have found that moment where even if it's just sitting in your car in front of the house, you know what I'm saying, or driving around the corner and just sit in your car so that you have a moment of peace where you can breathe or cry and scream and yell. People are doing that and they're finding ways to just let it out and have a moment of silence and pray or whatever it is. So it
Yeah.
needs to happen. Yeah,
You do. You have to carve out your joy like wherever it is, you know.
for sure.
5 minutes, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, like, you know, just take that moment for yourself. So what are some things that are bringing you joy right now in this time?
Um, well, I got caught up like everybody else. Like I'm watching everything on Netflix. I'm making like 100 trips to the kitchen. I've never had so much food in my house. And I'm like, the Doritos are calling me, the this is calling me. I'm putting
Same,
on weight.
same.
I'm like, yo, what is going on?
We
So
alive.
yeah. So once this started to like lighten up a little bit, I was like, let me get my bike. And then I'm an early morning riser and I stay up late, but I like to work out in the morning and get it done with. So I'm usually 6 or 7 o'clock where it's quiet on the streets, where, you know, the sky, because of this quarantine and nobody was flying anywhere, literally the sky seemed bluer and the birds seemed to chirp louder. You know what I mean? And I'm at the
Hmm.
park and my prayers or my moment of meditation seemed to take me deeper. I'm reading more. I had to stop the TV for a second because I'm like, I'm going to get carpal tunnel with the damn remote, just watching everything on
Listen.
Netflix and Hulu and everything. I was like, listen, I got to let that go. And it brought me back to my love of books, you know, and working out and stuff. And again, reconnecting and now being really creative writing.
Yeah.
You know, I've kept a diary since I was at the age of 10, probably even earlier than that. And there were gaps in there where I actually stopped. One, somebody violated my diary and got into it. So it kind of stopped me from being my truthful self in the book. Like I stopped writing, and that kind of really has shifted a lot inside of me because that's my outlet. So now I have a little bit of wall that's up where I kind of write in code, and that's not me, right? In case somebody gets
Mm-hmm.
your book again, and that
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
destroyed it. So I'm doing what I can to be as expressive and honest as a 10-year-old girl and 15-year-old girl and 22-year-old girl that I was, you know. And when you go back and you read all the things, it's so crazy how you have really always known what your future looks like. All the things that you wish and you hope for and you strive for are kind of in my book at 15. And at 21, when I got out of college, or, you know what I'm saying? I want to dance. I want to do this. And I want to be a journalist. And all that stuff is in there. So when I go back, it was like I knew it all the
You
time.
know, yeah.
Yeah. You know?
Was that you know, I also can relate to that in terms of making a clear decision at a young age, like I'm gonna dance. You know, parents' wishes be damned. I left school actually after my first semester, like to focus on dance and build my dance company.
Right.
So like, was that encouraged? You know, were your parents like supportive? And you know, I know you have a gymnastics background, so like, was that those wishes and dreams that you had? Did you have to fight for those things? Was it something that, you know, there was a supportive environment around it? What was that? What was that start like?
It's crazy because I'm a tomboy at heart. And so how I got into gymnastics is I always, in my building, there was like 8 kids that always hung out. We climbed trees and fences and stuff. And then, you know, in the park, you learn to do flips. But I used to bounce off the walls and knock over shit in the house. And my mom ended up putting me in a trampoline class near her job. She's a nurse, just because I had too much energy. And within a month or two, the guy was like, she needs to be in gymnastics. Like, she's really good. And so my mother was like, all right, fine, I'll put her in a Y class. Until this day, my mother is shocked as hell that me doing cartwheels and breaking furniture in the house took me to international waters, dancing for Michael and Whitney and Bobby and whoever. But she nurtured it, and she saw that I was doing really, really good. The only, I think, downfall within the aspect of that is, of course, fame comes out and I want to go to a performing arts school. And she was like, no. I lived in Queens, New York. And even though you still, as a kid, like a 10-year-old, you take the bus and the train because we're independent like that, you know. But I think she looked at it then. If I'm at work and something happens to you in the city, I can't get to you fast enough. Really? So me going to performing arts schools, rapping, I was really broken behind it. But I was on a national gymnastic team. So it kind of satisfied my thing. So she's been very supportive. But the whole time is like, you are going to college. Oh, you are going to graduate. And then when you come home, it's like, well, you are getting a job. So I still had a 9-to-5 job because initially, you know, you got to move back home. Be damned. So you can get your own place. And then I ended up quitting my job because I got my first tour literally within like 6 months of me being home. And I never had to go back to work again to a regular 9-to-5. But I mean, she's still shocked. But don't get it twisted. There are those moments because of this industry where you have your highs and your lows, and there's that gap in between the phone not ringing and you trying to hustle up a job. And it doesn't matter whether you're an A-lister or a D-lister. It happens to everybody. You know, just like we saw the gentleman from the Cosby Show working at Trader Joe's or whatever. It's those quiet times. And no matter how many times you have a plan B or a plan C, you still want to do what you love. You know, if you get in the NBA, you don't want to, just because you're suited up, you don't want to sit on the bench. You want to be in the game.
Right.
And so you're forced to not just wait for the phone to ring, but try and create projects and get those meetings and all that other stuff. But the reality of it is the lights still got to stay on and the car notes still got to be paid and all that other stuff.
Gotta pay those automobiles.
Yeah. So and there were days where I've had to call my mom, be like, Mom, help. You know, you hate making that call to your parents for, like, you hate it. You hate it. And anybody in this business can tell you it's happened in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s. Like, it is what it is, where you're on a hit show and suddenly the show gets canceled and you don't work for the whole year. Like, and it's not because you're a slouch. Like, we're all educated, you know what I'm saying? We all have degrees and whatever, but some of us would rather, and I don't mean this literally, but some of us would rather like slit our wrists than work a 9-to-5 because we have so much creativity to get out. And we have that artistic thing that needs to get out that regular people just don't understand.
Yeah.
They really don't. Like, we're aliens, we're unicorns, we're other people. And they just are like, it's so easy for them to just be like, go get a temp job, go get it, whatever. And you're at this temp job like, oh my God, I just need to dance.
Listen.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's all of that. But I think she's proud of me. She's proud that I've kept it respectful and dignified. She's proud of all of my accolades. She's proud at the levels that I've reached. Somewhere in there, she's still like, don't you want to go back to school, get something consistent? I think for her, because I got a full scholarship in gymnastics and I also got into a 5-year master's program for sports medicine, but you can only compete for 4 years. So I opted out my 4th year and didn't go for my master's. And I just was like, Broadway, gotta go. And literally started working right after graduation in the business and never had to look back. But yeah, I think she's proud. And I say to anybody out there who have kids, who have gifts that you see early on, painting, drawing, music, piano, cartwheels, whatever it is, I think I lost you. Nurture that. Did I lose you? There you go.
No, I'm here. I'm trying to give you some spotlight.
Oh, okay. Um, yeah, make sure that you nurture that for your child. You know, as much as you want them to be a nurse or a doctor or a lawyer, whatever the case is, that's cool and all. But feed into that thing. They could be the next, Van Gogh. They could be the next whoever. You know what I mean? So nurture it. And who says you can't do 2 and 3 things or have 2 and 3 passions? You know what I'm saying? So,
That's
but
so
she
important. That's so
very.
important because that can make I mean, like, there's so many brilliant people, so many, people with gifts and ideas, and like it's about access. Or they need someone to believe in them, or someone to say, you know what, you're smart, or you know what,
Yeah.
you're really good at that. How about this? Have you tried this? So that's really good, and I'm glad that you have that support system to help foster those dreams.
Yeah, I
Um,
think for me, sorry to cut you off, the tenacity and the knowing that this was it for me, like this is all I wanted to do. You have to remember that you can't live your life for your parents, no matter how supportive and loving and stuff they are. It's your life and you have to take charge of it. And it's your job to prove them wrong. You know what I'm saying? And they're
yeah,
going to love you regardless. You know what I mean? They may argue and yell at you, whatever the case is. They're still going to love you regardless. And they're going to, just like Andre Harrell did for Puffy and fired him, your parents are going to clip your wings too. And that's when you got to take off and soar, and come back
yeah.
and be like, nah, I did it. As I'm at the podium collecting my Emmy going, I want to thank my mom. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. And they'll be proud of you. Yeah, that's real. And it'll make all of those moments, that doubt, all of those, like, I had those moments of like, trust me, I believe in this. Yes, I want to go to Panama. I don't have no plan, but like it's on my heart. I got to do this.
right.
So I'm really glad. And again, anyone who's watching, so nurture those things in your kids. Let them try some things, even if it's not going to end in a career. They already took music and performing arts out of schools. Like, let them try something.
Right.
Yeah, and I know
Nobody
that.
could have ever told me I was going to make a living as a dancer. You know what I mean? Here I am, college. I'm thinking I'm going to do sports medicine, physical therapy. Suddenly the audition started to pay off. But you could have never told that little girl from Queens who was doing cartwheels that, oh yeah, you got a job in Italy now. What? I'm going to be in Japan for 4 months teaching dance. What?
Listen, that's real. Ah,
Goodness. There we
there we
go.
go. Damn. Okay.
That's so crazy because my router is like right there. I hope it's not me.
It's the devil. We'll get through
It
it.
is.
Um,
We rebuke you.
um, so, like, as a person who has thrived in multiple media avenues and has seen success as, behind the scenes as a choreographer, but in front of the camera as a dancer, as a both producer and host of both radio and television programs, um, like you said, we have dreams, we have goals. What do you think are some things that have helped you? Like, everyone can't be a multi-hyphenate, like, not for real. People may be like okay at some things, but like for you to be great at multiple things and be able to like stand in up all those lanes with your whole chest, and really thrive. Like, what do you think has helped you thrive in that way? And also, like, oh yeah, that's the first question. I'll start there.
Well, I think being an athlete first. One, let me back it up. I have really good examples of the women in our family. Grandmother, my mother. They don't know, but can we tell them what the connection
Sure,
is?
sure.
Okay, so your grandfather, right, and my grandmother were married.
Yes.
So
Head
we're
out.
family. But we have really strong women in our family,
Yes.
and that was the example that was set for me initially. And then being an athlete, there's this thing that's inside most of us athletes who aren't normal that get us up in the morning before everybody else, where you have to be better, stronger, you have to bust your ass learning this trick. And gymnastics, because it's a team sport and an individual sport, you have to excel not just for your team, but for individual standing. And so when that girl who you have to compete against every week is beating you on one event or whatever, you're forced to come back and work within 10 days to find a harder trick or get more consistent with yours routine or whatever it is. And so it's kind of the same thing with all the things that I love, that I study it, I learn it, I practice it, I try and perfect it, try and be as resourceful as I can. You know, when I started, the internet was not even around. So everything was literally long form, calling 411, going through the yellow pages, talking to a receptionist at a record label, trying to get information, who heads up a video department, like all that stuff was very long form. So no one now has really any excuse about not being able to get anything jumped off the ground. But I also remember my 20-year-old self, and I'm probably the same way. One thing somebody said to me is never have any fear of the next human being, because they bleed and pee the same way that you do. The worst that anybody could do is say no. And then either you just walk away and you find another way to get in, around the back door, climb through the roof, through the chimney, go through the basement or whatever to get to wherever you need to go. And that's kind of something I have that stick-to-itiveness about. You know, it's like, you can't tell me no. Hold up, you know who I am?
Yeah.
Like, no doesn't exist in my world. So, and so I always tell people, so especially dancers, like, you got to perfect your craft and you can't stay in one lane. So if it's just hip hop, then you better be taking tap, jazz, African, ballet, Lindy Hop, whatever, because those phone calls could come at any time and you got to have your arsenal full of all kinds of tricks. And so I say that too, with if you're trying to be a producer or if you're trying to be an artist, learn pen, pencil, crayons, whatever it is that's in your category or your field, and perfect it as much as you can so that when that opportunity comes around, that you're always ready. And I also, when I looked at someone like Debbie Allen, who, of course, obviously is somebody who I'm inspired by, and I saw her transition from dance into director, producer. And my mother would always be like, well, you can't do gymnastics forever. You got to figure it out. That was something that I saw, was her moving in a completely different direction.
Yeah.
And still choosing at the beginning, she was still choosing to dance in front of the camera as well as direct. For me, Rap City happened to come around where the first year or two, they allowed me to shoot the show while I was on tour, I think, with Heavy D. So while I'm in Chicago or in the Carolinas, I'm, with Common in Chicago or in Texas with Rap-A-Lot Records. And then they had to make me make a decision. And about that time is when I had to kind of retire from dance. And I may not have been ready, but I said to myself, you've been doing gymnastics since you were 10. You've been dancing, touring for like 8-9 years. You have to take this next opportunity. And so you got to run with it. And so I did. And then radio came, and then all these things started to come. And what's crazy is that in my high school, I had taken journalist class, and I was like, oh, I'm going to study journalism. Loved it, fell in love with it. And I took one class and I hated it. And I was like, never mind. But I still always loved to write or whatever. Cut to, here I am doing journalistic everything, interviews, writing copy, writing content. So the universe is always listening.
What's funny is I had a similar, fell in love with writing first, fell in love with dance, and now I've circled back to writing.
Right.
And dance is like that. I can appreciate it from a place of not being 21 and trying to like be skinny in ballet and trying to do all the audition things. And you can appreciate it just for the pleasure of it and not just all that angst that comes with like being creative in that space.
Absolutely.
How do you view, as someone who's like an OG in the performance game, like the current state of dance? I'm a dance break enthusiast. So like the fact that we are beyond the age of dance breaks and they're not doing that anymore like they used to, like, how do you view, I guess, not just like, not to say are people doing it like they used to, but like just the way that like dance is placed in like music and, performance these days. Like, I know people are doing a new dance on TikTok every day.
Right.
You have artists some are investing more in, the choreographer, the artistic director. And then there are some who are very bare minimal about it. Like from your era where you were getting it in a full, in 3-piece suit and combat boots and just the way the dance industry has changed. Like, how do you view that? You're not on the set as much, in that capacity now, but from your position, how do you view it? Or like, are you excited by it or anyone?
I'm probably more excited about the choreographers and the choreography than I am about the dancers.
Same.
Even like freestyle dancers, there's maybe 1 or 2 girls I think stand out or pop Whereas back in my day, there were like a bunch of chicks who had some real skills and floor work and all that other stuff. I'm grateful that dance has taken on a huge worldly platform with all these TV shows, right? So You Think You Can Dance, Dance with the Stars, whatever the case is. And I wish those were around, obviously, when I was coming up. I wish social media was around. So now you get to see what Millennial Dance Studio is doing, what this dance studio is doing. And so dance is getting embraced in a way that it hadn't before. I think what hasn't changed for professional dancers is the rate of pay and all those other things that have not changed. And again, I'm not a working dancer at the moment. And even if I choreograph a TV show, choreography and dance are completely different things. And when you're at a certain level, you can kind of negotiate your own rate. And I kind of been out of that category for a minute, but as far as like, because there were no agencies when I came up. So as far as like the union and the representation and stuff goes, they're still getting paid minimal. And that breaks my heart that these numbers haven't tripled and quadrupled over the years for a day of work. I think the classic artists like the Missy Elliott's who are out there, or the J-Los, recognize the importance of having a stage show of dancers and costume and hair and makeup and all the things that the dancers need, even like a masseuse and stuff on set or on tour, so that they can take care of their bodies because they understand their instrument and their value to the show. You know, you still have, I guess, other labels or, you know, rappers who just still want, you know, the video vixen kind of a thing, which, okay, more power to, you know, to me, I don't invest much in that. I mean, but there are video concepts that I love, but I don't feel attached to anything the way I did back then. And I'm trying to be as open-minded. Like, you don't want to be like your parents and like, what's this? What's that music? Turn that off. Like, I'm trying not to be that at all. So I really look at other choreographers like Jaquel, who's doing all the stuff for Beyonce.
Oh my gosh,
it's, you know, sick. Lou Daddy, who's been around, you know, he was back in my Living Color days, and his work has evolved so much. So there are choreographers who I think their work is really speaking volumes. It's just unfortunate that I don't see dancers who I know by first name. Well, I do, because it's me and I pay attention to that, but that the world doesn't know really by first names because they're just that dope. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I think the time also of like knowing like, oh snap, that's Josie. Oh snap, that's Les. Oh snap, you know, that's someone, you know, you would think that, you know, with social, I mean, maybe some with social media, but I think also some of that comes with like the way that artists used to put their dancers in the forefront. You know, give them that time to freestyle for those couple of minutes, you know, even if it was during a costume break or like whatever it was, they introduced them, they told you their names, you know, those, all that kind of stuff. So like, I guess maybe that's just like a, you know, a piece of nostalgia that I would love to have back. But I think it also spoke to just like like you said, the value for the craft and knowing what they add to the show, because a lot of these shows wouldn't be anything without dancers.
Absolutely. But like you said, like your value is the breakdance. People don't understand the value of the freestyle or that moment where the individual gets to express themselves, right? Because the masses can learn a routine and you all look the same, and maybe one person who gives you a little bit more attitude in the face will stand out. But you really don't see anybody's skill until they're in the cipher or the circle, just like a rapper, until he's freestyling or until you are freestyling as a dancer, and that you get to see what this person is made of. And not everybody's twerking or everybody's doing or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think also, just a change of like you said, the stage shows, you know, with like the costumes and the makeup. I guess just that era maybe has changed. And, you know, people have, I mean, I think, well, lower standards or whatever it is. Just, it's a different era.
Yeah, I come from, because I was a battle dancer too. You know, I grew up in the clubs in New York, and it's probably on my page somewhere. I'm backflipping on dudes and what, like, I'm a battle dancer. Like,
I've seen those videos.
DMX is a battle rapper. You know what I mean? So I get the importance of the freestyle, and that's kind of what it was. So I miss that. Now there's like, you know, a couple of crews out there, the house dancers, and their floor work is kind of, you know, whatever, really dope. But I just don't think their platform has been big enough. You know, maybe you'll see a little bit of it in like the Red Bull competitions with the B-boys and everything. But not with the mainstream projects that are being done.
Yeah, different time. Different time. In terms of the past, and you talked about like things that you've seen change. You've been on Rap City, for example, you were often one of the few women on set, at least in front of the camera. You've probably seen a lot of things, heard a lot of conversations, seen a lot of people in their regular off-camera selves. Knowing what we see now about like the Me Too movement and like the stories that have come out and the conversations that are happening. And also, I think I watched the interview you did with Unique Access Entertainment about the casting couch and some of those, those experiences. Do you think that more of these stories are on the way in? Because I feel like, in Hollywood, with Black folks, we got a lot of like, protect Black men, stuff at bay. Do you see more of these stories like on the horizon? Do you think this is just like the tip of the iceberg
Oh
in
yeah.
terms of these types of stories?
I think we're going to hear a whole lot more stories coming out from people of every race, not just, Black men and of the executives, the highest of the highest level. I mean, obviously you've gone from Harvey Weinstein to Russell Simmons, right? These guys are at the top of the food chain, and I don't think it's going to stop. Because you can only pay somebody off so much before they're just like, they still have an attitude or a problem, or they're just like, nope, I want more. Or other people who are in that same circumstance with the same person. She got paid off, but she didn't. So now she's going to talk. And then that's going to bring a couple of whole other people who, have kept quiet for the last 20 years. I feel bad for anyone who's had that happen to them, where they felt helpless. And I know so many people want to fight these women, not physically, but because they've been quiet for 10 to 15 years. Like, why didn't you say something then? And I can't imagine being silent for that long, but I don't know how it would have affected me if somebody ever got away with it. I think because people have always looked at me as, one, I'm a big, muscular, athletic, scrappy girl. So even though when guys was bold enough to roll up on me, they knew when to fall back. Nobody's ever grabbed me or put their hands on me, and I think being a New York chick kind of helps, too, but yeah, this whole casting couch thing is real, and you kind of have to know who you are coming into this business, because there are chicks and guys too who will do whatever it takes to get on. They don't care if it's hooking up with Sylvia Rhone because she's the head of whoever, or getting with Mona Scott because she's the whoever, because it happens with men too, or girls doing it because they want to get with Diddy or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You have to know who you are, and that you have to believe in your gift enough that you don't have to sell yourself short. And can I curse or be?
Yes, please.
Okay. So let's just say there's no dick that could have taught me how to do a backflip. So I knew that, well, me fucking you is not going to give me any more skill. What it's going to do is mess with my money, because you're going to be trying to fuck all the other girls around, all the other dancers or whoever on tour. And the minute I show up with one other dude, you're going to get in your feelings. Your ego's going to be whatever. You're going to mess with my check, or you're going to fire me. So I never did that. I never slept with any of the artists that I worked with. Maybe the guitar player, maybe the drummer, somebody who didn't have anything to do with my money. But I also didn't want to disappoint my mother in that way. And who wants to be a woman in a room of 20 other chicks who slept with the same dude? There's nothing cute about that at all. Nothing. So I kept them, and I think you can see clearly when these guys have a respect for you. Now, don't think that there's not a clapback. Even though they may still smile in my face and stuff, there are guys now that have become their egos are hurt. And the male ego is a very, very delicate thing. And if I call them because they're an executive and I say, can you make this introduction to me and someone, or can you help me with this, or maybe manage me? And they'll take the meeting, maybe because I'm Les, or they want me to see their new office and stuff. But that's where it stops. They'll throw it in my face, or, show me their shiny pennies. But they won't help or assist or take me to the next level or give me the information I'm asking for. And I think that's my punishment for not giving them no ass.
For not giving in.
Yeah, So I'm like, it's all good, but I recognize that, and that's why I'm gonna go around you. And when I see you in the lobby, or we're at the same event on the same red carpet, I'm gonna give you that wink and be like, I ain't need you anyway,
Right. No need.
It makes you hungrier. So
no need to do that.
Ladies and gentlemen, keep your integrity out there. Trust me. Keep your integrity out there. Carry your shank. If you need to cut somebody,
listen,
stepping into your space, do what you gotta do.
Yeah. And like you said, that being resourceful, knowing your value too. Like you said, that ain't nobody in there. Like, in that room could do a backflip and do all the things that you can do. So like knowing that when you walk into the room could like, help prevent you from having to exchange, and take a chance that you make a choice that you wouldn't have otherwise done.
Yeah. That was the blessing for me, is knowing my leverage early, because I was, I guess, the unicorn. I mean, you didn't see even the Simone Biles and the Dominique Dawes. You didn't even see those Black gymnasts. So I really, in my time in there, I was always the only Black girl in the room as a gymnast. You know what I mean? But coming into the entertainment industry, I was out dancing the guys. So I knew what my value was, and I could kind of just be like, okay, I'm going to negotiate a little higher, see what you say. Because you're asking me, I didn't come to you. And when those tables turn, and it's not about arrogance, but it's about knowing your worth early on.
Yeah. That helps. Having a support system, having people who believe in you and can pour into you and affirm you. All of that stuff helps for creatives. In terms of this whole moment that we're in, the Rona, the COVID, what is something that you learned about yourself?
I learned that I am very comfortable being by myself. Like when I talk to some of my friends who are really depressed or really sad, and I've had those moments too, because there are days where I'm like physically not hugging anyone, and I'm a hugger. I'm so affectionate. I'm like a cat, like I need to be touched and all the time. You know what I mean? And anybody I was dating before the call, I was like, okay, I'm wait. COVID has been like the biggest cock blocker and all that other stuff, but it's like, all right,
baby.
Yeah. So, but it's I've found ways to entertain myself. I've always been good at keeping in touch with people, but this is when you kind of see who checks up on you. And so as you're cleaning and purging your house, because you ain't got shit else to do, I think relationships get purged along the way too. And not because you aren't sympathetic to what they might be going through, but really this is the time to like check up on your people. And now you know who your people are and who your people aren't,
Yeah.
But I think, I've learned to just be really creative in this, more creative than I have been in a long time. And maybe this is the spark that I needed to step my game up. You get a little complacent sometimes. So it's like, we're in survival mode and more ways than one. Let's get your plans together and my motto has always been every day you have to do something toward your goal. Like that was my thing, even in like high school.
Yes.
Gymnast, like every day you got to do at least one thing, and then it would be like at least 3 things or at least 5 things. And so that's kind of where I am now. So I got to do at least 3 to 5 things to get me to my goal, and then not beat myself up on those days that I don't do it, because I just need a break or I'm not in that creative space. And that's very important too. It's not to beat yourself up or to be down on yourself because you let a day or 2 lapse that you weren't in that creative mode or you didn't do what you were supposed to.
Yeah. Yes, that's super key. I talk a lot about that in my classes, giving yourself grace, having standards, having goals, but like giving yourself grace, being kind with yourself, especially now, I think that none of us really knows what we're doing in this moment right now. Like everyone's trying to figure it out. Everyone is trying to make a way, make the best of it, get through the day. So giving yourself grace to, hold yourself accountable, but also like be gentle with yourself, as my friend Danya says. Be soft with yourself, rather. Be soft with yourself.
Absolutely. There was a moment too, like especially when the protests and stuff started happening, that I just was like, I'm not going out there. And not because I don't believe in the cause, but I value my health, right? Because we're dealing with that too. So I'm in my living room with my fist up or writing a check to make a donation. And then I still had to be at peace with just doing that and not being in the streets like I normally would, because I haven't seen my mom since February. I haven't hopped on a plane and flown to New York to hug my 80-something-year-old mother, who I desperately miss, because I don't want to give her anything.
Yeah.
So while I'm coping with that, I can't risk this protest, even though I believe in the cause, because the bigger picture is still my family and what happens when the smoke clears.
Yeah.
So I have to be kind and forgive myself again through all of that.
Yeah. And I'll just say to you and anyone else who's watching, like all of that stuff matters too. Like I would love to be out, but like I'm immunocompromised like hell, and I can't go home to Virginia, and like, teaching, talking about stuff, giving people space, supporting foundations and, organizations who are out there doing work. Writing a check helps, if you can, as long as, submitting to like a legit organization, helping someone find resources, if you're resourceful as hell, helping someone find funding, a place to stay, medical supplies, those people on the front line, they need snacks like a motherfucker. Like, they need water, they need masks, they need all these things. So like, there's so many ways that you can help. If you got to hook up on, bulk orders of these supplies, like
it's the smallest thing that you can do. People think you have to do like this big grand gesture. For one, you don't even have to tell anybody. You can move in silence. Two, you can do something like just go to the 99-cent store. And for me, I did that, or I went to Staples, or not even Staples, or wherever. And there's the LA homeless community is just, the numbers are crazy. Or even while I was, grocery shopping and I got a grant, I took some of that money and I would hand out like loaves of bread or whatever, just to the people who were in my neighborhood. Don't know them, never seen them. They got a tent. Let me just put that right there. And I did that for like 10 tents. But you know what I'm saying? Because that's just something I could be at peace with.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I love that idea that like, it doesn't take a big grand gesture or lots of money or resources or tools. Often just information or like, a conversation. So much can be helpful. So I want to thank you for your time and for joining me here. I'm glad we got to reconnect.
Proud of you doing this. Really, 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 this is what the world needs, to be able, for those who don't have the resources for a therapist, to go sit and talk in private, that this is a safe place to really just kind of have a conversation, or to cry, or to talk about something that's on your soul. And I really appreciate and respect that you're doing this. This is really amazing. Really amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your story. I want to, continue to reconnect offline and check in and see how you're doing. But yeah, can you let people know where they can find more about you and what you're up to, what you have going on?
Social media, I am Leslie Segar, LESLIESEGAR, or even my website, lesliesegar.com. And I try and update you with my podcast. Make sure you guys follow The Spin Room, THA Spin Room. We post a live show on YouTube every day at 1:00, 5 days a week. So make sure you subscribe to The Spin Room, myself and my crew. And hopefully this documentary, we're getting ready to finalize this trailer. And I've been able to do like Bobby Brown and some other really great big name talents, Teddy Riley and stuff. I'm doing it based on the women of 90s hip hop and kind of telling my story within this, because you always hear about the Rocksteady crew or just the guys. You never hear about the girls. So I'm trying to, get everybody in there and see what happens. It's going to take a minute, as documentaries do, and clearances and all that other stuff that comes down the line. But just follow me. I'll keep you abreast, and follow us both, y'all.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I hope you continue to stay healthy and well, and we'll connect soon, and stay Black, and have a great day. Have a great night.
Honey.
Bye. All right, so that was Leslie. Shout out to Leslie, Big Les. Again, if you're watching, feel free to share this conversation online on Facebook, Twitter, or wherever you're watching. Whether you're watching live or in the replay, you can find me at Colored Boy or Alex Gotta Eat on Instagram, and at my writerly portfolio at thealexanderhardy.com. So before I wrap this thing up, I wanted to share something about a workshop, a little bit of information about a workshop that I'm starting this week called Literary Therapy, Writing for Your Life. So I have mentioned on here that I am working on a workshop to give people a safe space to talk about their feelings, mental health, self-care, process emotions, things like that. Help people, talk about isolation, joy, loss, grief, helplessness, all the emotions that we're dealing with right now. Because for me, writing my way through what I'm dealing with has been a really helpful tool. It's free to write, and it's when therapy is not available, it's a way to pour into yourself and dive into yourself and be honest with yourself about where you are, what you've experienced, what you're going through, your future, your past, things like that. And so I created this space called Literary Therapy. And with this space, I wanted to offer an environment where we could spend 6 weeks working our way through issues that have to deal with all of what we're dealing right now. And it's an intimate space, and it's a maximum of 8 people. And it begins on Wednesday, September 16th. So uh, it's a 6 week writing program. And what it does essentially is allows you to create a safe space to write your way through your emotions in a safe space, using grounding activities, using therapeutic writing exercises, using group readings and discussions, creative writing prompts, things for acute stress relief or to incorporate into your daily ritual. So like I said, work your way through these emotions, some things that you can share with others if you're feeling up to it and vulnerable, or you can keep to yourself and use them for personal reflection. Each week, you also receive, in addition to the things shared during the workshop, you will also receive a newsletter style resource roundup with additional stories and resources and tools for additional exploration and to help you in the war on spiritual ashiness. This is a course that is for anyone, whether you have worked with a therapist or not, whether you consider yourself a writer or not, anyone who is willing to just work their way through their emotions using writing, private or public, introspective activities as a way to ground themselves, as a way to process anxiety and complex emotions, and to establish a sense of safety, to gain strength through introspection and create space for healing and joy, and to free your mind and practice gratitude and mindfulness just as a way to balance yourself in lieu of all the things that we're dealing with right now. So again, this literary therapy writing for your life course starts this Wednesday, and I still have some slots available. It is an intimate space for a max of 8 people per sessions. There is an AM session, which is from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and a PM session from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They're 2 hours a week, and you get a resource roundup plus worksheets and such to supplement what we follow in the sessions. The first week of the sessions, we will discuss establishing a sense of safety, and we'll go through some grounding exercises and some conversations and discussions around and some exercises around what it means to feel safe, what you need in your space, how to create that space, how do you create a sanctuary, even in a fuck the past environment, amidst conflict, amidst chaos, amidst uncertainty. How do you find and cultivate peace and joy? The second week, we'll talk about resilience and self-love and cultivating and taking toll of some of the strategies that we have and tools in our tool belts, our survival tool belts, to know what's going well. What are our strengths? What's working well? What does our community look like? What does our support system look like? How do you build a support system and things like that? And we'll do some activities around that. The third week, we'll talk about giving yourself grace and forgiveness, being soft with yourself, talking and engaging with the inner hater, and giving yourself space to just be. And being, like I said, kinder to yourself, because that's important, especially now in a time when we're all trying to figure the fuck out 1 week at a time, 1 day at a time, 1 hour at a time even. Week 4, we will talk about establishing healthy boundaries within your community, taking toll of whether your community and those in your community contribute to or detract from your mental emotional wellness situation, whether they help you feel safe, whether they help you feel seen, validated, loved, affirmed, wanted, desired, whatever the things are that you need to feel okay. We'll talk about reframing our past in week 5 and learning from even traumatic moments, embarrassing moments, shameful moments, low moments, spiritually ashy moments that we can use to tell a new story about our lives, to step out of our narratives that have been keeping us from being our best, most spiritually moisturized selves. So we'll be working on, again, tapping into that inner hater, but thinking about, in those raggedy moments, what are the things that helped you thrive? What are the things that you did do well? How did you get out of it? What did you say to yourself? What did help you get through that? And in the final week, we'll talk about the future, imagining yourself in the future, setting goals for the future, setting a support system up to help you thrive in the future. And that is a week that I'm looking forward to. You'll be able to explore all of these emotional things, to make space for healing, to choose joy. You'll have takeaways that you can take with you to help you feel stronger in the weeks ahead. Strategies that you can share to check in with yourself, with your family, with your friends, to tap into your creativity, to connect with people and establish community in a time when a lot of us are dealing with feeling alone. A lot of us are dealing with, new situations that we've never faced before. We're losing our safe havens. Some of us go to school or work to feel safe, get away from the things at home. And a lot of us don't have those routines right now. We're dealing with loss, people, routines, outlets, creative outlets, physical outlets, things like that. And so we need space to talk about feeling. So if you're down, hit up thealexanderhardy.com. There's all the information there, also on thecoloredboy.com, to discuss the literary therapy, Writing for Your Life therapeutic workshop, which begins on Wednesday, September 16th through Wednesday, October 21st. I'll take a week off, and then our next round will begin after Election Day in the first week of November. So again, hit up thealexanderhardy.com for more information on the literary therapy writing program. I look forward to connecting with you and working with you through all the things that you're dealing with, and helping you create, an environment to thrive and to heal and to work towards, whatever it is that helps your soul glow, and to put a little bit of Ruda in your tutor. Before I go, I did want to share some things that are bringing me joy. Before I wrap up, again, I want you to share this conversation with MHM with Alex as a hashtag. So the first thing bringing me joy, I went hiking in a New Jersey state park this week with some friends of mine, and we got lost like a motherfucker. And it was my first time hiking, and it was amazing. And we got there about an hour into Jersey around 11 a.m. and spent like an hour walking from the lake with my friend Donnie and Brandon and Tommy. And we hiked to the lake, and you're stepping over rocks, and you're hopping over logs, and you're doing it was like real deal hiking, not just walking in the forest. Like, it wasn't over the river, to grandmother's house. We go over the river and through the hills. It was climbing upward. We chilled at the lake, took pictures. They got in. I took a nap, ate a PB&J sandwich, and connected with the sun and all that good stuff, and the ants with their whole asses. And I from then we pressed on. We went on a path that was apparently not the correct path or ideal path on the map that Brandon had, and we wound up going off course about an hour and a half, and spent about an hour and a half trying to find our way back. It was great. We wound up doing over 10 miles. My ankles and knees were completely over it. So hiking was the thing that brought me joy. It got me out of the house, off the computer. It got me moving. The second thing that has been bringing me joy is Cast, The Origins of Our Discontent by Isabel Wilkerson, who wrote The Warmth of Other Suns. And this is a book. It's 400-something pages. And I'm really looking forward to reading about the history of this, not just this raggedy ass country, but just like of how the insidiousness of racism and how it has inflicted dumpster heartedness as an American export. And I'm excited about reading about this. And I've been seeing a lot of people enjoy and find some important revelations in this. So shout out to Isabel Wilkerson. If you're watching, I love you, and I appreciate your work. You the bomb. So that's the second thing. The third thing that has been bringing me joy is Penny the Succulent. I bought Penny at Home Depot a couple years ago, in addition to Rita Louise, the Croton over here, who's bouncing back. But Penny the Succulent is my third plant child in my life as a plant dad. She has been here blessing the corner of my desk, and I've been trying to keep her thriving and keep her green, her leaves firm and bright green. Also new to the familia is Sarkeisha the Purple Waffle, who is my fourth child, and who had a moment of plant shock the first day I brought her home from Home Depot. I got a nice terracotta pot or whatever the hell this is that I'm going to get someone to paint for me. But she apparently plants don't like being moved and changed from one location to the next. So I brought her home. She was okay one day. I watered her and misted her. She drooped and was flat the next day, and then she perked back up the day after that. So she's still thriving, and I spray her, and I try to make sure she gets lots of sun, and I tell her she's a bad bitch and that I love her, And so thanks for shout out to Starkeisha, the purple waffle, and Penny, the succulent. Also, another thing that has been bringing me joy and getting settled into the Casa de Joy. I just got permission from my landlord today. Not only is my mailbox, my name on the mailbox, but I have been looking at paint samples. So I'm trying to find a color in the spectrum that can help my Casa de Joy feel like a home. I'm going to paint my living room and my bedroom. So I'm trying to find some colors in the blue, red family to keep the homosexual agenda alive and make this house feel like a home. And so stay tuned for that. I find it best to furnish before I get a whole bunch of shit in here anyway. So that has been helping me stay excited and just imagine and, think about what I want in here to feel at home and to make this place feel as comfortable as possible for me. So shout out to Paint Samples. I may even mix a color or paint a wall or a stripe or half a wall, or who knows? I may paint Janet Jackson on the wall. Who knows? But again, those are the things that have been bringing me joy this week. Feel free to view all episodes of Mental Health Monday at mentalhealthmonday.getsomejoy.com. You can view all episodes there and also see what's on the horizon in the future. You can also view me on Facebook at Mental Health Monday with Alexander Hardy, and also on Twitter. As far as next week for Mental Health Monday, I want to share that next week I will be talking to financial wizard and CEO of Feel Good Investments, Sheena Anthony, about Rona flavored finances, thriving financially amidst global uncertainty, getting your financial situations together. Should you be saving? Should you be investing? How do you think about insurance? How do you plan for your life? How can you get a budget together? I'll share that I've been working with Sheena to get a handle on my financial situation, my personal and professional, with a budget, a outlay of all my bills, all my things, all the deductions and credits and income streams and profits, and a 1-year plan for Get Some Joy and all the things I'm doing and all the opportunities, and a 3-year plan and a 5-year plan, which I've never thought about, never imagined these types of things before, what it's like to think about the work I'll be doing 5-10 years from now. So that's new and exciting. And honestly, a little bit scary at the same time. But next week, I'll be talking to Sheena about how she's choosing joy in the age of the Rona and what you and I and everyone else on Janet Jackson Internet can do to get some joy and to thrive and be okay. Again, hit up mentalhealthmonday.getsomejoy.com to find out what I'm up to, who's going to be joining me in this situation. And yeah, thank you for watching. My name is Alexander Hardy. Head to thealexanderhardy.com for more information about my 6-week literary therapy, Writing for Your Life therapeutic writing workshop. If you need a way to write your way through the emotions around isolation, pain, loss, grief, joy, self-love, affirmation, tapping into your creativity in a safe space, in an intimate environment that will allow you to be your best self through creativity and ignite that creative flame. Again, my name is Alexander Hardy. Go listen to Janet Jackson.